Never expect high school romance in Japan to be like anime. Now you might be saying, Matsu, I've watched romance anime all my life and I get those heart-wrenching confession scenes, dramatic love triangles, does he like her or does he actually like her instead? And shy but determined protagonist or even Sigma protagonist that doesn't even act like he likes the girl but he actually does, but he actually doesn't, but he actually does. Bruh. And maybe you thought, is high school romance in Japan actually like that? Can I be that Sigma? Can I be that Japanese Sigma so that I could have that Japanese romance experience in high school? Do students Seto actually confess their love under a cherry blossom tree that's just in full bloom, like kokuhaku? What's kokuhaku anyways? What is confession anyways? And is it true that secret admirers would give you little letters, little labureta? Does that actually happen? Have you ever gotten a labureta, Matsu? And that's why Matsu-sama is here right now to break down real life versus anime high school romance. Rengai. So get ready to dive into high school romance in Japan, what anime gets right and what anime gets totally wrong so that you don't even know what's going on. First, let's talk about the confession, the kokuhaku. What is the confession? Why is there always a confession episode? Now this confession, this kokuhaku, is typically romance related, but the truth is the definition of kokuhaku is actually to say something plainly. Technically, haku means white, like a plain, pure-hearted. So it's a confession that you say something that you really mean, whether good or bad. But in general, when we talk about kokuhaku in koko, it's always about confessing your love to an interest or to someone who you like. Now, one thing I want to make clear is that kokuhaku is actually for just liking. You don't love that person yet because you're not even dating yet. It's ironic, but you're officially announcing that you like someone. And now you might think in the Western context that that's not a big deal, but it actually is a big deal. And the reason why is because you're making it clear to the whole class and to the person that you're talking to that you like that person. And because Japanese culture and Japanese people tend to be a little bit more reserved, making that announcement and making your feeling public in that official manner is something that should be taken seriously. And now it could be from a guy to a girl, and it could also be from a girl to a guy. It happens anyway. I would say even 50-50. It's actually not necessarily one way or the other. Obviously, someone like Matsu-sama, because I'm a Sigma. Some people say I look like Oreki. Some people say I look like Goku when my hair is a little bit longer. And then you might be like, well, how does it work? Honestly, to be honest, this is from personal experience. Most likely, oh, Matsu, you kokuhaku'd someone? We're gonna talk about the experience of getting kokuhaku. Matsu, you got kokuhaku in Japan? I did. I'm not gonna say any names. What would typically happen is the person's friends probably already know about it and the class and the school already kind of know about it, so it's not really a surprise, but she or he, let's just talk about her, she would say, could we meet up at this place? Now, where the place is at, the places could be behind a school or something like kind of private, but like not like completely like behind a dumpster or something. Typically somewhere within the school grounds. I don't know why it's always like that. It's never like in a cafe really. And then when you meet up, you kind of know that this confession would happen and she would most likely tell you that she likes you, like suki desu. It's pretty simple. It's kind of like a quick suki desu, which means I like you. And then what typically happens if she doesn't really know that you like her or not, she would half the time say that you don't have to give her an answer yet. She'll say, 答えなくてもいいから. You don't have to give me an answer yet. But if she kind of thinks you might like her, then she would not ask for the answer, but she would be quiet and you would have to give an answer right away. They'll say like, 付き合ってください. Which means we go out with me, 付き合ってください. And then if you say, はい, or 僕も好きです, I like you also, then you would officially become a couple in that moment instantly. So the whole grade, now you could tell everyone that you are dating each other. So it's kind of like, makes it really clear. One of the big differences, in general, Japanese guys and girls with this confession culture makes it super clear that if two people are dating or not. Not too much situationship that goes on. It's more supposed to be just one-on-one. Maybe someone's peeping, maybe your friends watching you through the window, but in general, it's supposed to be one-on-one and it's supposed to be directly confessing love or the fact that he or she likes you. And then the unfortunate thing is at that moment, she or he might reject you. Furareta, like I got rejected, and has that happened? 2 people I know, it has. Have I done it to someone? Let's be respectful here. So that's how the kokuhaku culture will happen. And second thing I want to talk about is then what would happen with dating in high school? Well, the truth is, a lot of people I know went to like private boys school and private girls school in Japan where there's only guys in the school, there's only girls in the school. That doesn't make it so that you can't date someone. It's way harder. And I know a lot of people like that. But I have heard that even in co-eds, certain co-eds still got that old-fashioned Japanese bunka in which dating is not allowed. And now you might be like, what? Is this a corporate environment? Who's calling HR? Who's gonna tell the Japanese Koko HR that two people are dating? Well, I don't know how enforced it is, but I have heard that some schools, some teachers will say that dating is allowed. And like, how do you restrict that? What's the definition of dating? So like you say you two aren't dating anymore and then they're not gonna date anymore. But in general, if it's a co-ed high school, dating is allowed. And what would happen is that kokuhaku would happen and then it would be known throughout the whole class that you two were dating. Now, how would you date in high school? Well, unless you have a baito, unless you ever work a part-time job, you're probably not gonna have too much yen in your pocket. But the good thing about Japan is that there's a lot of cafes and there's a lot of activities that you could do. Even if you don't own a car, the public transport is reliable, safe, cheap. So already from high school, dates specifically, you have to follow the dating procedure in which typically a whole day is planned. You might have seen an anime like whenever there's a date episode, almost all the time the guy would say, hey, let's meet at here, and then they'll go through other places. That's part of the course, dating course. And that is kind of how it works in that it's not like you go to one place and you depart. It's kind of like a whole organized day that typically the guy would have to organize all the way from the start to the end. Your name, remember when he went on a date with the older co-worker, didn't work out because he had someone else in his mind, but something like that where he organized the whole date. If you're the guy, you better have everything locked in. If you can't be like, ooh, I ain't got no plan, she's gonna break up with you that moment. So, Matsu, how do you know all this? I'm just trying to help you out. This is for anyone, but obviously from a guy's perspective. My suggestion is you have this one great place. This is for the first date when you're trying to show off a little bit. Zoo, aquarium. I'm Osaka native, so Kaiyukan. It's the best aquarium. I heard it's competing with the biggest aquarium with Atlanta. Every 5 years, they top each other. I'm digressing. Aquarium, suizokkan, zoo, dobutsen, and UNC, a little bit of a amusement park, some main thing first so that you will have a little bit of excitement, a little bit of romance in that way, but you're kind of being active about it. Then a little bit of cafe you need to break. There's a bunch of cute cafe, kisaten in Japan. Get a little bit of latte, cappuccino. Japanese coffee is really caffeinated, so you gotta be careful about that. And have a little cake and then walk around a park. There's a bunch of parks everywhere, and then finally a little bit of dinner. Doesn't have to be too expensive. There's a lot of cute like cafe style dinners that you could go, and then somewhere, so like you go up like some hill or something where you could see the night lights, where you could see the view of whatever city you are in, and that's a beautiful whole day. So it could be from like 10 a.m. all the way to like 7, 8, and you have to have that in order, and you have to be like, all right, we're gonna go next there, we're gonna go do that. It already happens from high school. There's always a dating course, and it's up to the guy to determine where we're gonna go. I've gave you a dating course already, so you know what to do. And if you wanna learn Japanese, I have MATSU Academy where we have students learning Japanese right now. Link in the description, join it. I'll see you there where I could personally teach you Japanese along with my students. We got courses all the way from the beginning to advanced, more courses coming. So I'll see you in MATSU Academy. So now I wanna talk about third, which is how dating affects school festivals and any school related activities. And the thing about Japan is there's way more like events that might happen in school, like bunkasai. Teachers aren't really a part of it, where students have to decide what they were gonna do, what they're gonna participate on. I think you've seen it. If you've definitely watched rom-com, you know what I'm talking about, where students kind of organize themselves to find out what they want their class to do. I guess this is specifically for if you're dating within the same class. That's gonna get a little bit affected if you're like running a play. They might be like, I want him and her to be prince and princesses. They might kind of ask you, hey, you two are dating. Well, don't you think it'll be right if you two participate in that way? But in general, there will be some little bit of there's a couple of like other things like dancing, and then obviously those things could be complicated if two people are dating and others are not. So a little bit of school festivals and activities will be affected with this romance 100%. Now fourth, let's talk about love letters, labureta, and secret admirers. There's some similarities and differences from sliding into someone's DMs. The main thing is sliding into someone's DMs does not take that much effort. I think 2 taps and a message and a send. So 3 taps in total. Now the point about a labureta is that you would have to be the one that gets a letter, writes it down, and then package them in a way, or like put it in an envelope, and then give it to the person. Now this happens way more with girls. Girls are typically the ones writing the letters and giving it to the guy. And I would say if it's not handed to them directly, then most likely the labureta is anonymous, and they would kind of write something like, dear whoever that person likes, I like this qualities about you, you did this and I thought it was really cool, I like you. It does happen where they might just put it into your little shoebox, and if they do that, that means most likely if it's indirect, that'll be anonymous, so that'll be taken as a secret admirer. I think half the times this kind of happens during Valentine's Day, because in Japan, Valentine's Day, girls give guys chocolates, and with that, if they actually like you, they might slip in a little labureta. If it's direct, obviously you know who likes you, but if she is more timid, she doesn't want to say the confession directly to you, she might just give you the labureta and then sprint away, and then her feelings is transmuted into the letter and you're gonna read it. You better not rip it apart. Now the 5th, public displays of affection, PDA. Now most of you might know, but already in Japanese public, PDA is frowned upon. You are allowed to hold hands, but you really can't kiss in public. You can't be hugging, you can't be cuddling in public to an extent. You could, like I said, hold hands. You could feed each other a little bit of bento, a little bit of onigiri, a tiny onigiri into each other's mouths. That's kind of like the limit. That's like you're already kind of pushing it if you're there. You can imagine that if that's the level of PDA, even for adults, the PDA that's acceptable in Japanese high school is nothing. No PDA, nothing is allowed. You're not allowed to even hold hands. No physical touch. You could laugh, you could have a little bit of, share a little bento during lunch. Yeah, of course you could laugh, but you could have a conversation, but you can't show any physical display of affection. That's not allowed. I would say in America, you might see, not really in class, but in the hallway by the locker room, a little bit of PDA going on. But if that happens in Japan, a sensor's gonna catch you and say, bro, that can't happen. If you do that again, getting kicked out. So they take PDA pretty seriously, but you're allowed to do a little kokuhaku. You just gotta keep a lot of it verbal. Like I said, in general, you are allowed to date someone, so people do know that you're dating and people do know that you are affectionate towards each other. It just can't be public. So is high school romance in Japan just like the anime? Actually kinda, but the truth is it's kinda, anime is way more exaggerated, way more bigger. You got the eyes sparkling, you got the cherry blossoms blossoming at the perfect time. Is that gonna happen for you and I? Probably not. But the thing is, the main point that we're trying to say is that Japan does value this seishun, this youth romance. They do think it's a cool thing. I think it's a cool thing, and it's definitely one of the cultural components in which they idealize, and that's something that we should know about. The thing is that romance does exist in high school in Japan, and if not, Hatsukoi is one of the biggest stepping stones of Japanese life, and it's valued appropriately, as you could see in anime, and they want to exaggerate that because they really value that. Hopefully this video gave you the cultural idea of the similarities and differences between real life and anime, high school romance. Make sure you check out MATSU Academy, link in the description, so that you could join my community of learning Japanese with my other students today. I'll be there.